Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Success Navigation. My name is Haseeb, founder of Brankit, where we provide e-commerce services to supply chain, specifically to e-commerce brands. And today I'm here with Saddam Hassan. Saddam is the founder of AMZ One Step, and like I have been following AMZ One Step for a very long time, but recently I got in touch with Saddam Hassan, and he is here in a mission to help Pakistan agencies. So we will take it from here, and like there's a lot to talk about that. Like he is a founder of two agencies at the moment, and his total evaluation is like around $10 million. So definitely we will talk more about that. But Saddam, if you can start with your introduction and we can take things from there, that would be super great.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me, Haseeb. Glad to be on the show, and I'm excited for the topic. I've been talking about these things for quite a while, especially on my other channels as well. So I'm glad, just to kind of share the knowledge and 10 million valuation. Yeah, I think we're above that, but yeah, it's a big number. But for agencies that are just starting out or that are smaller, just know that everything has sort of like a compounding effect. So that 10 mil, at some point, it used to seem like a really big number, but now, I'm just thinking even 100 mil is achievable. And there's a lot of good agencies in Pakistan that have a proven service. All we need to do is just, connect it with a good marketing channel, and then the rest is going to be
Yeah, so
easy.
let's just start with a bit about like how AMZ One Step started and what exactly you are doing right now, because I have seen that you are now moving into a phase where you are acquiring other agencies. So just a bit about your background and how everything went so far.
Yeah, it was more of an experimental start, to be honest. We didn't really plan for it. Me and my partner were both Amazon sellers at the time, and we were pretty involved in the community because we wanted to learn from other Canadian sellers who were selling as well. And people kept asking us about our connections, so we would just connect them with our designer or sometimes with our PPC specialist, or you have like different VAs and touch points that we would connect them to. But then later on, we realized, okay, for the design side, there's like a massive shortage. Either people are going to Fiverr and Upwork, or they just want someone who is outside of that. So what do we do for the people who are not on Fiverr and Upwork? So we started connecting them with our own designer that we would get the work done from, but we said, hey, this is us. So then people were like, okay, what's the name of your company? Do you have a website? So we were like, okay, now we need to take this seriously. And we came up with AMZ One Step, created a website. First year was like really slow. So we did what all the other designers and editors did. We went on Fiverr and Upwork, so established our presence there. But fast forward 6 years, it scaled to a point where we realized that we were one of the leading creative agencies in the Amazon space, and it was just time for us to grow. But because there was market share being taken up by other agencies, we just decided to go in like in acquisition mode, and it just worked out with Kenji last year. A company that we sort of looked at when we started, we would kind of mimic anything that they did. So if they were doing blog writing, we did that. If they were doing podcasting, we did that. And it was just amazing to see that, an agency that we saw and followed for the whole time, eventually we acquired that.
So let's start with some basics, right? Like right now, I'm sure like you must have a team that is like close to 150 or 200 headcount. So building such an agency, like at a certain point, you after a certain point, you need a team, right? You cannot take it alone. So my point is like most of the agencies right now that are working in Pakistan, their main challenge that I am seeing is how to build that team and to get up to that stage. So like most of the agencies are at 8 to 10 headcount and they are taking things from there. So if you can just let me know like how you evolved over time and like what was your main things in hiring the right people and taking things towards the growth.
Yeah, I think any small department is going to evolve and mature as it goes through. So there's like four levels that I like to put it. The first one is like talent dependency, right? Where you don't have any kind of process. You just hire someone or you're the expert and you just figure out a process. There's nothing written down. That's talent dependency. So you hire someone, they know what they're doing, and you just kind of plug them in and say, okay, take care of this process. The second one is where you define uh, what and who and when, right? So what needs to be done, who has to do it, and when do they have to do it. So that's defined through a process mapping. You create a process map from the time the client comes in to the time that we deliver the project, what happens in between, who is responsible for it, and when does each and every person have to do their own thing. So that's level 2. And then level 3 is where you really get into SOP. So okay, so now we know what, when, how, or what, when, who. How do we do this? So the SOPs start developing. So that's where you can take a backseat. When SOPs start developing, the owner itself can move outside of that department and focus on the other area. And the fourth one, level 4, is the biggest maturity model. That's where you just do like daily meetings, day end reports. It's just when the improvements also get built into the system. So you don't even have to touch anything. 1 year later, when you come back to that department, it would have improved so much because it starts learning. It's like AI. So it keeps on learning from its own design and its own processes.
Like right now, you will not be able to get an insight like what hiring process is going on at your end. You just take those reports at the end, maybe at the end of the month or weekly. But there is one point here, like when you say level 1 to level 2, how exactly you are looking at that shift? Like what exactly is the point that you say now it is level 2 or level 3? Are you basing it on revenue basis, or what exactly it is?
Simple number of process cycles. So let's suppose we have a supply chain specialist, right? You're working with aggregators, you're helping them with their maybe catalog issues or supply chain stock projections.
Hmm.
Unless you do it like 5 to 10 times, you won't know exactly what challenges come up, when do you have to do each and every task. So I would onboard someone who is a specialist like you, and I'll say, Haseeb, we don't have a process built out, but can you take care of this? Because you have experience in the past, you'll take care of it. But once we do it 10 times, I'll be like, Haseeb, this is a really good process. We figured out our challenges. Can you define when you do each and every task, and what you do in that part? And then who is responsible for it? Is it just a one person job, or do we need to break it down into three different people? So that's how it kind of evolves, not on revenue, but just repetition of that process.
Got it, got it. And then linking it to like our main part, that is, when you like, there can be a bit of a challenge as a new startup. You either start focusing on hiring or building SOPs, and at the other end, you leave the marketing or sales part. Like keeping a balance between both of these is quite important, right? So that is something where agencies start struggling, where they are focusing at this end as well as at this end. So how do you like keep a balance of that? And I'm sure like there's no such balance, but like now focusing on the marketing part, how we can bring in that to keep it scaling with the team.
Okay, I'll tell you guys something I realized very late in the game, and this is going to help you guys a lot. The reason I feel that we were able to scale our agency is because I did not have a technical background in any of those things. Okay. The one that was like my baby, the one department that I really wanted to grow was advertising, because I love advertising. I would, do it for my own account, and I would just geek out on the analytics. I just wanted that department to become the best in the space. But because I was part of the service, it just couldn't scale. Anytime we would scale and they would have issues, I would be the main person where everything would get stuck. So the reason we were able to scale design, video, copywriting is because I had nothing to do with this process whatsoever. My whole job was to bring in clients. And I feel as an owner, as an person who's leading the agency, if you just figure out and focus more on bringing in money into the agency, focus on the scales, focus on the cash flow, because that will keep you guys alive. The rest of it can always be, you can outsource in the beginning. You don't even have to do it yourself, right? So the important thing for agency owner is to focus on how to get leads and then how to convert them into clients. So marketing and sales Operations, even though sometimes it's our baby, sometimes we're like, no, we're so passionate about this is something that I love, and I wanted to pursue it because I had passion for it. It's okay, take a back seat on that. Focus on this part, because this is gonna keep everything alive.
uh, like I would like to share my personal example here. For example, there's a stage where you feel that your team will not be able to deliver at the stage where you can deliver yourself. So that is where we start involving in the operations and get back and take the operational seat instead of that front seat, that leading seat. So I think that is something important, right? Like I can realize it, like I have been doing this for a long time. So this is like a very highly valuable point. And when it comes to like creating your offer, I think that will be we can start with that to go more in depth about the sales and marketing part. So how do you structure your offer? Like what exactly steps you follow, and what is the best way to come with an offer? That like sometimes you see I am providing this service. Is it under evaluated, or uh, am I charging anything higher than other services? So that is the reason clients are not coming. So how do you structure the offer at your end?
Yeah. I just want to touch on, something you mentioned, as you were talking about your own challenge. Is, yes, you might be the best person to deliver that. And yes, sometimes when you give it to your team, they can only do like 80% or 70% of what you could have done. But that's okay. Let them fail. That 70%, you can get them to 80, 85% just by giving them guidance. But as long as you're part of the process, you're always going to be stuck. And people make this mistake a lot of times. I've been told by many people that I trust very easily, meaning I will hire a manager and I'll be like, day three, I'm like, you figure it out, you have my trust. Like, I think you can do it. And the reason I had to do that is because there's so many layers that at some point, I was burning out. I just wanted to have faith on my managers that they will be able to do a good job. And then whoever is giving me results, that's who I closely work with, because I know I can get the most impact from that.
Hmm.
So just wanted to touch on that. But coming back to your offer question, you have to figure out who your one specific person is that you're catering to, and what is their one specific problem. Okay, this is something, I think Alex Hermosi or Cole Gordon said. And I really love that, because once you know who your target customer avatar is, you have to define that. Even though a lot of agencies in Pakistan, they do marketplaces, so they're on Fiverr and Upwork, they say yes to anything, right? That's our fault.
Hmm.
We don't have to say yes to anything. So look at your past 10 clients and look at who you were able to satisfy the most. What was their attributes like? Were they a big client? Were they a smaller client? What were their challenges? Why are they happy with your process? And then you start building out your offer around that person. Okay, what did they like about it? Was it timelines? Was it quality? Was it the pricing? Okay, perfect. And how much value would they put on that problem that we're trying to take care of? How big of an impact, adverse impact, is it going to have if that problem isn't fixed? Let's say we're talking about supply chain, right? If they go out of stock on, they have 1,000 SKU storefront, go out of stock on 100 different SKUs. Now they're going to get deranked. Now they're going to have, stock issues where customers' trust is getting away.
Yeah,
So there's a big reputation damage happening if some brand with 1,000 SKUs has that impact. So how much are they going to be willing to pay to solve that today? Is there a SaaS product that can solve that, or do they need someone manually, an expert who needs to be consulting and giving them guidances? Because you don't want to be way overstock. Now you have like so much inventory tied up, but you don't want to be understock as well. So, what price it should be really is it goes back to how big of a negative impact it's going to have if they don't solve that problem.
got it. And bringing up that negative effect in your offer and then evaluating it against the price that you are offering is I think the way I come up whenever I close a client. So taking it from here, like offering is something, creating an offer, like we understand now we have an offer and what are the steps. There are things like reaching out to the clients. Now that is the next phase. Now we know what exactly we are doing. And just linking one point more here, like most of the agencies are confused, like if we are scaling we need to diversify in multiple skill set. And I have been talking with a lot of agencies on this. Like whenever we have to scale, we don't have to diversify, we just have to vertically build things on one scale. And once you reach up to certain stage, then you can diversify. So I think that is something that you will agree on that, or if you want to add any point here.
Yeah, I say this all the time. If you're less than 1 million, just focus on one. You're not that big that you're diversifying to a different one. Less than 1 million, you can easily scale with just one particular offer. That's it. Because the more you diversify, the more challenges you need to solve. It creates a lot of issues. So, um, uh, as I mentioned, a lot of these agencies, they're marketplace dependent. You talk about how to get those clients and how to get in front of them.
Yeah,
But if you're on Fiverr, because that's how we started too, right? We were top rated on Fiverr, and then Fiverr went down, and then we started doing Upwork. So I want to give some steps that's going to help someone in that situation, because we did something very similar to that. If you are on Fiverr and Upwork and you're doing well, half of your job is done. You already have a really outstanding service that's working for you. Okay. So now what you have to do is you need to start creating portfolios, start creating case studies. What was the challenge? What you did? What was the impact? Case studies. Maybe have like 3 to 5 different case studies because you have so many good examples. Get some video testimonials. And then after you have those things, testimonials, portfolios, and case studies, you start doing outreach. So with your offer that we talked about, you're going to start doing outreach on maybe LinkedIn. I heard you can now even jump on a video call on Upwork. So if you're doing
yeah.
outreach on Upwork, that's perfect. It's going to create so much conviction when you get on a call and you're like, hey, this is the clients that we've worked with. They're just like you, similar to you. They were in your shoes, and we helped them scale, or we helped them with their supply chain issues. And we want to do something similar with you.
Like let's be specific regarding any one offer, like besides Upwork and Fiverr, because that bring us to be dependent on something which can ban us at any time. So I would like to know one channel which worked for AMZ one step, and that really helped the agency to scale up to, the main source of lead generation for AMZ one step. What exactly was that? And just go a little bit into those details if that can help the audience.
For sure. So we were lucky in a sense where, as you know, the Upwork kind of plateaued. We were writing blogs consistently. Like for the
Hmm.
past 5 years, we've been writing a blog every single week. So it was difficult at the time. Right now it's so easy. You can just get AI to write a blog per week for you. And if you really want like an easy step for that, everyone, uh, including yourself, right? You guys are all active on LinkedIn and Facebook. Whatever post gets the most engagement, that is a really good topic to write a blog on. So once you write a blog, another thing that we do is we do YouTube videos. We've been doing that since, last 4 years, and maybe not consistently, but at least it has a good presence to it. So you need those two social channels, and SEO was the one that paid off a lot. And then outside of those organic channels, then you have some paid channels. So we did a lot of influencers that we reached
Okay.
out to. Again, very similar concept. If you have the case studies, testimonials, and portfolio active, you can approach influencers now. Another thing that we did was conferences. So even though you might not be able to get to like in-person conferences, there's a lot of virtual conferences, and it's the same recipe: portfolio, case studies, testimonials. That like I feel like it's the same recipe on each and every channel.
Uh, the things like you mentioned, I see a problem here in Pakistani agencies specifically. They are not like persistence on just one thing. they want immediate results from the things. So I think that is the area where we need to improve a little bit, because when you talk about SEO, it takes a lot of time. Like at least it will take like 8 to 10 months or 1 year to start generating results. So short term is not the thing. We need to focus on these long term strategies to move things ahead. And there's like one touch point that you mentioned regarding the influencers. So can you shed some more light, like how we can reach out to them, and what exactly how exactly this model works?
Sorry, I kind of lost you there. Okay, you're back. Yeah, I think I got the question, but lost a bit of the conversation. Um, to come to the influencers, Hasib, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, to come to the influencers. So basically, the way they work is in any industry, you're going to have influencers. You're going to have course providers, you're going to have coaches, you're going to have people who have authority and they have a good following. Just figure out a list, put like a list of 100 people, um, and reach out to them. Just say that, you have a great service and this is something that's going to be beneficial for your students or your audience. And we have partnered up with others who are seeing success with it. So the cost model that they operate at is they're going to charge you something upfront. That's like usually their promotion fee. So they're either going to do a video or something like that, a shout out. That's the promotion fee. Second is basically they also are interested in like a rev share model or a profit share model. So we can tell them, usually what we like to do is we offer a 10% discount to the audience and then a 10% revenue share to the influencers. And if you guys cannot do it, just to let you know, there are PR agencies out there who will
Mhm.
connect you with all these influencers. So you don't have to do all the work. They'll just connect you and charge a fee. It's still worth it. If your ticket size is anywhere above 1,000, I think you can easily get it profitable.
Because recently I was like in touch with an agency that actually reach out and generate leads for you. So I want to understand, like there are models where if we have a recurring fees, they will charge on very first lead, or will that be like a recurring cost? Like how, like there are multiple models, or is it just on that first project?
Usually they charge on the first shout out or promotion.
Hmm.
The recurring fee really kicks in is every time you get a sale, they get a portion of it. So so that's usually the model. Um, if you're talking about the PR agency and not the uh, or you're talking about the agency that gets you leads,
Yeah,
essentially.
I'm talking about that
Right.
exactly.
Okay, so for the leads part, yes, usually they like to work off of like a recurring fee. Sometimes you can ask them to get it performance based, meaning, hey, listen, we need these many qualified leads. Can you structure it so we talk about 50 qualified leads and we'll pay you this much? Sure, yeah, and try it out for a month or two. If you see that the leads are actually qualified, that's a really good thing. But then you need to make sure your sales pipeline is good so you can take care of those leads. You need to know a few numbers. So you need to know response rates out of all the qualified leads that we reach out to afterwards. How many are responding back? You need to know call show up rate. So basically, out of all the calls that we've booked, how many actually showed up, and then conversion rate. Okay,
Hmm.
out of all the leads, how many converted, or out of all the call show ups, how many converted. So once you have a number, these metrics in, then any kind of qualified leads. If I tell you, Hasib, I'm going to bring you 100 qualified leads, you'll do quick math and you'll know exactly how many you can close from the 1,000.
Got it. But like it highly matters like what exactly you have at the back end. So that is what we talked previously. Offer should be strong, and then you mentioned three key points like testimonials should be there, case studies should be there. So these are some of the things which we can link in with with the leads that are coming in, and like that is where most of us are not focusing. We are just going through those old sales channels to get the leads. So I guess that is something valuable. And like talking about a very next stage after that, so that is something where you are working, and that is the conference part. Another part is like getting to establish a sales department internationally. So can you like briefly walk us through like what exactly, how that can happen, and is there a way to reach up to that stage, or how we can identify ourselves to get up to that?
Yeah, yeah. I think this has been a hot topic of discussion. Anytime I bring it up, people have questions. So I'm glad, people. It looks like that's like the main issue for a lot of agencies
Hmm.
is how do they scale internationally, and I just want to let people know that anytime you think about an international salesperson, just know that if they're a really good qualified person, they would be expecting about $5,000. Now, that doesn't mean you have to pay them as a base of 5,000. They just need to be making that much in commission. Okay, so you'll
Okay.
have salespeople from different platforms that can sign up with you on a commission base only, but any closer is going to expect about 5,000, and a very experienced one is going to expect something above 10,000. So when do you feel you're ready for that? As we mentioned, there's a rule of one thirds. I think I talked about this in one of my podcasts, but a rule of one thirds is one third should be your cost of service, one third should be your overhead and marketing, and then one third should be your profit. So in that one third cost of service, you're also kind of squeezing in the sales, right? So it can be more than that. And if you really split it, maybe it should be around 15%, 20%, nothing more than that. The max you should go for is 20% on the sales side. Now, what does that mean? If you're doing $25,000 a month, 20% of that is 5,000. That's when you can actually afford a closer that's
Mm.
international. Before that, what I would recommend is if you're still struggling with sales, because a lot of people, Haseeb, they're not really experienced with closing. They might be really good at their craft, but they're not good at sales. So what I would recommend is either go through like a proper training program, or you can hire someone from Pakistan. There's so many call centers. These guys are perfect. They just need a bit more polishing, and they'll be the perfect closers. Don't get them to like memorize a script or something, but just give them loose guidelines. Hey, this is how we pitch our service. With a little bit of training, you can get that call center guy to an expert sales closer in your team, and that person's going to cost you way less. Give them incentives, give them commission. You'll see, like within 1.5, 2 lakh, they'll close so much business for you.
Like there's one challenge here. So when we talk about sales guy, we usually want them to be trained in that skill set as well. So how do you think, like, is that matter a lot, or is it just the way you talk and close the client that really matters?
Okay, so what I've realized is there's a recipe. Okay, this was like the big breakthrough point for us. We realized there was, because I kept thinking, why is it that when I jump on a call, I'm able to close these clients, but when same international closers that I'm paying so much to, they're struggling as well, right? So we really broke it down, and we thought, okay, there needs to be a script, there needs to be a deck, okay, and there needs to be some objection handling. Okay, so script is easy. You talk about how to create that initial
Yeah.
interaction. Oh, nice, I love the background, where are you from, or like are you a fan of this, blah blah blah, initial rapport. Then you ask a few qualifying questions. Okay, are you brand registered, are you this, how many products, how many variations, what stage are you in your launch, all of those things. And then you create a goal in front of them. Okay, so creating a goal would mean like, talk about revenue. Okay, how would your life change, all these things. After that, you create some doubt. Okay, what happens if you don't achieve this goal? Let's say you launch the product 6 months down the line, no sales. What's going to happen? What's your mindset at that point? So you create doubt, and then you move into the pitch, the deck itself, and you run through that. And the deck has to be really good too. And afterwards, when you'll see, when you present the pricing or the offer, they're a lot more inclined to get closed. So there was a recipe that we broke down, and we're like, okay, we just need to teach this recipe to someone. They don't have to have the expertise. We just have to teach it to them. They're good at sales. They just need to know how to talk Amazon. And within 1 month, when we did that, our one of our closers, she recently joined the team. I'm so proud of her. Second month, right after training, she did $100,000 for us. So
Uh, that is like a huge number, and like you raised a very good point. Once you have that recipe in front, then maybe there can be a point where you can get like a technical guy from your team to get in touch with the sales guy and to bring in and present that deck and maybe add some technical points to that, where that sales guy will not be qualified to talk more. That can be another point added to that.
yeah, and that's a great point, right? So a lot of times there are services that need technicalities, that need a technical person.
Hmm.
They can be in the back end. They can just observe, or you can do like a two-step close where the first call is just discovery, and you say, hey, listen, we're going to get back to you on pricing. We just want to do like an audit of the account, maybe share your user permissions. And once we have an audit, I have Haseeb or this person who's going to join. He's the technical specialist, and he'll talk you through some of the things that we noticed in the account, some of the opportunities. But the salesperson leads the second call too, uh,
Yeah.
because they can talk more about like numbers and pricing.
Yeah, one point here, like when you drop the client to the second call, there is a high chance like they drop out in that phase, because I have seen that happening. Because when you first do a call, then you get to the second call, mostly they like sometimes they don't respond. But if you close them on the very first call, I think that is the right step where you can hit. So how is your experience with that? Because that's two-step onboarding is getting a bit out of hand for me especially.
Yes, so I'll teach you guys another concept. Okay, it's called BAMFAM. What BAMFAM is you book a meeting from a meeting. That's why it's called BAMFAM. And the reason BAMFAM works is because once you get them through the discovery, on this first call, right towards the end, you don't show them pricing. Don't talk about pricing. Just say that this was only for us to understand, and we are going to take you through the whole process in the next call, and book that meeting right on that call. Okay, looks like my calendar is open for Tuesday. Do you have any slots available? Perfect.
Mm.
Anyone else that's a decision maker on this? Oh yeah, my wife. I wanted to. Okay, let's. Can she be on the call as well? Perfect. Okay, I've. You should have received an invitation, and then it's so much higher chance of them getting on that second call. The other important thing is you want to do the BAM fam within like a 2 day window, right? So if there's like a weekend coming in between, try to do it maybe on the same day or on a weekend if you have to, but don't give it too much of a break, because then that's where the chances go low.
Yeah, I think that is the missing piece to that, and that is where we need to improve to build up that sales pipeline. So I think we are already at the 35-minute mark, and there's like we covered a lot of things, but there's one final point that I specifically would like to ask. Like you have been in that space for a very long time, and now you're back in the Pakistani agency space, working closely with some close agencies. I'm the part of that, definitely. So like what is your goal behind that, and how you're seeing things growing in Pakistan?
Yeah, okay, so I came back to Pakistan, I think this was a year and a half back, and I wanted to be part of a community where there's conferences happening where I can share some insight, but I also understand from people who are from that part of the region who are staying in two different worlds. They have clients here, but they live in Pakistan, because I'm a byproduct of that. Most of my team is in Pakistan as well. And when I started searching, there was absolutely nothing. So I was like, why is that? Is no one taking that initiative? Or is it just because we just don't have that many agencies that are doing so well? And once I started digging in, I found out that there are some good agencies, but a lot of them are being treated like a back end operation. So there's people who have just figured out marketing and sales, and they're just outsourcing to these these agencies that are in Pakistan. And my initiative from Reality Check was, if someone else is taking your solution and pitching it in the US and Canada, we can do something similar, and we can scale each and every agency to upwards of $1 million. So if you're an agency struggling and that wants growth, do check us out, Reality Check. Where maybe Haseeb, you can share like the Facebook group if someone wants to join. But
Yeah,
yeah, uh,
definitely. I will add that to the comments. And like you mentioned a very great point, because I was talking with one of a guy from Lahore actually, and he's running some inventory management part at their end, and there's like one or two agencies internationally that are working specifically in this area, and they were getting outsourced from US. So they were closing the main deal, and then working was all taking place in Pakistan, and those charges were like quite minimal. So if we can get in that space where we can close our own deals, I guess we can bring in a lot more, and we can scale our profits a lot. So looking forward to it and see how things grow, and quite excited about the reality check. And definitely this is something which can help the agencies finally, and we can kind of group all the top talent and see how we can bring in more revenue and more skills to Pakistan. So with that, like, is there any final point that you would like to mention?
no, just hoping that this was useful. And again, don't look at the numbers. Don't look at like 1 million, 10 million, because people kind of get like lost in that. Look at
Hmm.
your own progress. Just kind of think, what am I not doing at the moment? And what are some of the things that I need to teach myself? I have learned everything from YouTube, whether it was like jumping into Amazon. I was a finance guy, so introverted, wasn't really good at talking. I had to teach myself sales, but I think I'm pretty good at that now, and still a lot of ways to improve. So everything that you think you're lacking as an entrepreneur, just make sure you teach yourself that, because that's the ultimate way of growing and scaling.
Great. Thank you, Saddam, for your time today, and definitely we'll have some more sessions to go specifically on some topics to get more, because that was just like an overview to the whole scheme that we are working on. But definitely we'll have some more sessions, and thank you for your time today. And yeah, have a great day to you.
Thank you. Looking forward to that, and thanks again for having me on your show.
Perfect. Bye, guys.